So, who would like to go first? Any key insights or any key issues that were highlighted by the process? Yes, there's a microphone.
And we're just talking about the fact that I think I'll talk personally, but we've invested a lot of time in the reporting investigation part of the process.
Yeah.
But then we've caused problems with the rest. So because we've not thought about it holistically, we've invested loads of resource, time and energy in getting reporting numbers up, observation rates and so on. But then we have other people who've not made a radical change in organisation to then cope with the influx.
Yeah.
So we've probably caused ourselves back-end issues within this process by investing time and energy in the wrong part. If that makes sense.
Yes, yes, and I was trying to get the model up. What people in the pilots were saying, or people who have used the tool, is that they like the structure because it sort of breaks up the different activities that you have across the whole process, and it highlights to them, just as you're saying, you've got a lot of activity here, effort. And I guess what you were saying as well is there's a bit less going on here, but also there's a bit of a gap in the communication of the effectiveness.
I think we've created our own bottleneck because we've gone from, let's just put an argument's sake, 5 years ago we've probably had 200 observations of one asset. We're now having 2,500 observations because we've put a lot of emphasis on open reporting culture, getting out there. Even though you resolve the problem, make sure you report it. So we've got all the information, data analysis, looking for themes. But then we've created this absolute mountain of data that if we don't change the organisation to cope with it, all we've created is an absolute massive pile of work that if we're not, it's like guilty conscience then. I've got all this data that's telling me something, but I've not changed the organisation to cope with the data. But we've not invested that time and effort across all the stages of the LFI process. So unfortunately, we've probably got to wind it back to cope with the data and set the right process. So we've probably gone too fast, too quick, and now we've got to try and apply that same methodology across the whole logical sequence.
Anyone share that? Anyone have a similar experience?
Well, I know one major that actually tried to address this situation, which I think most corporations, definitely the majors, are dealing with. And what they did is they implemented a process of prioritizing, and you talked about it in the manual already, is to evaluate the incidents that did happen and rank them so that you can determine whether or not there was if it was not an incident that resulted in harm. So let us say it is that near-miss reporting cycle that we have, which generates all the observations. So determining those that actually had the potential for elevated harm and filtering those out and targeting those and not getting caught up in the noise, because that's what you're getting, is you get so much data, as you say, is that it's a lot of noise and you lose the important bits in it. So looking at that and saying, how can I filter this noise into some coherent bit of data that I can then action so that I can get the benefit?
I think there's something about, I remember talking one of the workshops about triage, because that's what
I'm saying, is the triage process. You have to have a process that triages the data that's coming in, and then you could say, this is what we need to look into. This one I'll commit resources to investigating. And these ones, we're going to keep them, we'll track them, we'll monitor the trends in this area, and then we'll determine whether or not we have to action it at a future date.
Okay. Thank you both. Anything from further down?
Well, I was saying to my colleagues here that in my particular organisation, yes, the reporting is fine. If there is an investigation, and I presume there is, but nobody ever knows about it, the first thing we know about it is right the way down at the other end when we suddenly get an ill-conceived, rushed through draconian new procedure. Bang, do it. Oh, there's none of the middle bit there that we know about.
Right. So you can see the gaps then?
Oh yeah, you're about that big.
So in Shell, we spend a lot of time on the reflecting space. We realized that the first 3 boxes we had a lot of activities, but we were not getting the outcome we wanted. So what we did is we had a major program where we have reflective learning materials with all the questions that you see in the book, based on incident or incidents. But the whole idea is to lock people up in a room for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, for them to reflect. The beauty about it is an incident that happened elsewhere in the world, outside their operation, they can relate it to their environment because the time is given to them for them to relate. So it has been a very powerful exercise for us.
Speaking of time, we do have to move on. Of course, we do have a break in 15 minutes' time, so if you have any more questions or anything, plenty of time still to talk about that. Let's thank Matthew.
Thank you.